Alright, hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast between mouz Strelok versus Czech Prime here on Metalopolis, Game 1 taking place in this, I believe, best of 3 series. So yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at the game already. I am still suffering a little bit from a cold or a flu or something, so I'm going to try to slow down, not talk too much, and let you guys enjoy watching the game and try to give a little bit more minimal commentary. Some of you guys said that you actually like it, as I seem to be making less mistakes, so let's see if that will be the case. We have Strelok spawning as the red Terran player at the 6 o'clock position. Meanwhile, we have Czech spawning as the blue Zerg player here. Oh, dang it. Here as the blue Zerg player over here at the 9 o'clock position. This Overlord will make its way over and then gain sight on mouz Strelok. Most likely what will happen next is mouz Strelok will try to rally one of his units over into this direction here and then gain sight of the Overlord and then move back. But oh, it doesn't look like that's actually happening, so mouz Strelok may not know where his opponent has actually spawned if Czech is able to pull back with that Overlord in time, and it does look like it is back in time. So that Overlord now backing off. Most likely a drone could be sent, and then it will run around the corner from this direction here, make it look like, oh no, the SCV is gonna catch it in time, and there it is. The SCV has scouted out Czech, and now Strelok does exactly know where his opponent is. We most likely will be having a hatchery grow up right down here just at the right amount of time, as Czech knows all of his builds probably very, very well. And we should be seeing a spawning pool followed by an extractor in just a moment as this game now gets underway. mouz Strelok, interestingly enough though, doesn't have anything on gas right now. So with nothing on gas, it looks like he is opting to go for another command center, or he may be trying to go for a 17 or 70 command center expansion as well, and that would be a very aggressive move in terms of the economy of this game, knowing that his opponent would not be able to train up that many units until later on as well. It does look like it is going to be a 16 SCV, so 16 SCV now done. The Marine on the high ground instead of on the low ground. Is the supply depot going to be built in time? I do not think so. Oh, there you go. That drone doesn't want to come up the ramp to see or take any actual damage, and now Czech will be playing in the dark for just a little bit of time as mouz Strelok is able to wander around on the inside of Czech's base, getting as much information as possible. Now, here there are a number of options that Czech can do in order to try to get back into this game economically. Normally, Zerg players want to fast expand and run off of double hatcheries. At this point, he can either try to take this high ground expansion here, or Czech may decide to use some Mutalis or just run off of 2 base play, knowing that he can power drone pretty easily right now just because his opponent, well, he doesn't know what exactly his opponent has, so he cannot really power drone. He has to be careful about power droning. Otherwise, he may have an army of Marines inside his base in just a moment, and then Marines fighting against an army of drones. The Marines normally win unless there are just so many drones that the Marines don't have a chance to shoot them all down. SCV now building an additional factory. I would have suspected barracks, but no, going to a factory and now upgrading to an orbital command, going to perhaps add on either a reactor. Yes, a reactor, so it will be double training Hellions in just a moment. A Zergling trying to run its way in, unable to see anything at all as a bunker now being placed down. This orbital command perhaps will call down a mule down into here before lifting off and then reestablishing itself in just a second. So Czech establishing or opting to go for an earlier creep tumor instead of a spawn larva, and I really like this play, as creep helps a lot of Zerg players. Many times many Zerg players just try to get too much spawn larva, and then their larva just sits there and not being used for quite some time. So yeah, enough energy to get that creep tumor down, and now that should continue to spread as the Marines should jump inside that bunker. We are going to get double trained Hellions and now a starport. So we are going to get double trained Hellions most likely, and a medevac. What are those SCVs are now just deciding to transfer down over into this location instead of placing a supply depot, lowering this supply depot, so making it a zigzag of a maze to try to get in. Production wise, you can still see roaches now being added on, and those roaches are going to be very strong counters against those Hellions, but it looks like it is going to be Hellion Banshee. So Hellion Banshee, this is a very nice combination from Strelok. Hellions to deal with the Zerglings, Banshees to deal with the roaches. So that is going to be a lot of damage, and also getting the cloaking research as well. SCV now wandering back and forth. It looks like Strelok has practiced this build very much. His natural expansion is pretty well saturated at this time. Needs to train up more SCVs here. As his main base is looking quite sparse, there is an SCV that has gained sight of the hatchery that is currently being built over here. So that has been revealed to Strelok. Strelok now running away with this SCV. 4 Hellions on the move, going to try to avoid this Xel'Naga watchtower, and that Zergling isn't activating this one. So these Hellions are going to be able to wander around all the way across the other side of the map with their very fast movement speed and perhaps get some damage in. We can see now a barracks being built over here, and we only wanted 4 Hellions. The Hellions, however, stopping at the hatchery, and they have revealed themselves. This is not, I believe, what Strelok really wanted to do. I can't imagine that he actually wants to try to burn down a hatchery, especially as the roaches are now coming in. So roaches quickly coming over, scampering about, and gonna get some damage. The hatchery nearing completion. We are at tier 2, and the Glio Recon, no, sorry, not at tier 2. It looked like we were at tier 2 for a second. My eyes are playing tricks on me. Drones and Banshees, and the Zerg melee attack. At this stage in the game, mouz Strelok has a pretty decent tech advantage. He has those Banshees out. Those Banshees are going to be able to clean up a lot, especially since there is an evolution chamber, but there are no detectors. So the Banshees are going to get a lot of kills onto those Queens. The Queen now desperately trying to run away, trying to get a transfusion off, and it looks like that transfusion will not come in time, as the Banshees are now cleaning up some of those spore crawlers. So one spore crawler will get taken down, drone getting taken down as well. A lot of spore crawlers trying to be built all at the same time. It looks like those spore crawlers will be able to reveal themselves, or reveal those Banshees up in just a second. Not enough damage to be dealt against those spore crawlers. That one spore crawler is now revealed. This one spore crawler may get taken down. Is it going to get taken down? Yes, it is, and now pulled away at just the right moment, as we now have 3 spore crawlers in play, with a possible 4th one coming in as well. But yeah, nicely done with that damage there, cleaning up with a lot of Banshees. 8 kills. Taking a look, yeah, looking at the drone count now, 38 compared to 45, as a new command center being built here most likely will be lifted off into this high ground expansion location. Hellions looking to see if they can deal even more damage. I do not believe so, as the Overlords are already in the air gaining sight. Roaches going to send out a swarming welcome party, but the Roaches do not have the movement speed upgrades. Going to try to finish off that creep tumor? No, not going to do so. There is a Banshee now in the air, and that Banshee going to finish up the rest of those Roaches, and the Roaches have to be very careful. One Banshee can take down a large number of Roaches, and the Banshee has a decent attack speed, dealing about 20 damage per second. So the Banshee's damage starts to rack up over time and very quickly. Strelok continuing to just macro up even further and further. His army is continuing to grow. There is spore crawlers here, but no spine crawlers. So only a Queen to try to defend against what will be some incoming Hellions. And the Hellions now going to perhaps get some splash damage. Already getting one drone kill, trying to get more, getting some more drone kills. And now you can see the drone damage is being added up further and further. More drones are falling over here. Roaches trying to make their way over. And the Hellions are finally running and retreating. Oh, one very low hit point Hellion able to barely back off there. Queen over Zealous and off of Creep. Medevac now being added to this command center, most likely will be lifted off in just a moment, and then going to be established at the high yield mineral location. So he will even be able to get a very high efficiency, as Marines are now being dropped inside the base. So the Terran player Marines are just all over the place at the same time. Marines are now just trying to fight back. Are they just going to jump inside that medevac? Yes, going to jump inside there, realizing that a swarm of Zerglings with level 1 claw upgrades could deal a lot of damage to those poor Marines, even with a medevac. The Marines had the level 1 weapons upgrade, but even unless all the Marines are attacking the same target at the same time, the Zerglings with natural regeneration, it still takes 6 shots from our Marine in order to shoot it down. And siege tanks now making their way up, and now we are going to get an elevator drop. So just dropping from the low ground into the high ground, and then switch, and then crisscrossing back and forth. The Zerglings and the Queens do not want to try to engage, and there are the Marines now trying to make their way through, and now trying to get some damage on the one Queen down. It doesn't get taken down, as we did have a very nice transfusion there. So perhaps we are going to get another elevator drop in just a second. There are a fair number of Marines, only 6 of them on that high ground. More Marines may be coming around that corner. If they're not very careful, they're going to simply walk into a group of units there. And yeah, poor 3 Marines just walking and gonna get swarmed as the Marines are just gonna finish out the Spore Crawler. Oh no, not able to finish out the Spore Crawler. Another transfusion keeping the Banshee away, and that is very critical. The Banshee wants to be able to give and provide air cover. Otherwise, those Banelings are going to be able to get a lot of damage. And now, finally, the Marines are going to make their way over, take down this Spore Crawler. Baneling now coming in, and now that Banshee has pretty much free reign in order to try to fight back. There is one Spore Crawler here, and oh, that Banshee may get taken down. Down it goes. And the Marines now just trying to fight back and forth. The Siege Tanks are over, giving nearby support, and now Siege Tanks are continuing to just push their way through. We are getting some Zerglings here, but there is a planetary fortress that is completed upgrading now, and now perhaps a swarming in on this location here. The supply depots are lowered, and now those units, those Zerglings are going to be able to get some damage here, but the main pressure and the main damage is still these groups of Marines and a couple of Roaches coming in. Down goes this last Roach, the Roach trying to scurry around, not going to be able to reach their target, and mouz Strelok should be able to just continue this pressure with those 2 siege tanks on the low ground firing up onto that high ground. So Marines now down over here offering some support. Marines over here as well. These Marines are just going to simply stim, come in and deal even more damage, perhaps taking down the very, very critical spawning pool, which will slow down the production of Banelings. But those Marines now need to jump inside those medevacs, and jumping in at just the right time, able to save those Marines. But the siege tanks now are getting depleted and destroyed as those Banelings rolling away even further. Czech now expanding to the 12 o'clock location, so it is going to be 4 bases versus 3 in just a moment, and now getting the level 2 armor upgrades and the level 2 weapons upgrade as well. So those Marines are going to become very, very powerful in just a few seconds as the Marines and tanks are continuing to push in. Marines now just dealing some more damage. The Zerglings trying to get some damage onto those Marines, unable to do so. Now, I've seen this done a couple times where a medevac actually flies overhead and starts dropping Marines onto Banelings. That is a very, very efficient way of dealing with Banelings, as 2 Banelings will detonate normally, and as 2 Banelings detonate, oh, look at that, the Banelings running in to try to kill off that siege tank. 2 Banelings cost 100 minerals and 50 gas, so that is a very, very nice trade-off there, as those Marines are just continuing to clean up more and more. There are a lot of siege tanks on the low ground. Roach is now trying to come in as well. That one poor queen running a little bit too far, now getting blasted away. And Mutalis now trying to just join in the air. So this is going to be Bling Mutaling here on Metalopolis by Czech. So Czech needs to really micro these units. Unfortunately for Czech, he is playing from Korea, so there is about a 1 to 2 second lag, and that makes it very, very difficult to deal a lot of damage. And oh, those siege tanks simply falling to the wayside now, as those Marines were unable to do anything else, and this high ground presence has now been cleared. Siege tanks going to continue to just siege up and put a little bit more pressure, as once again we are going to have Marines dropped up from the high ground. Mutalis now coming in, going to get some splash damage across multiple Marines. Are they going to get picked up? No, not in time. Mutalis, with only a range of 3, generally are melted by equal food size or equal mineral size group of Marines. And now the Mutalis coming in, realizing that they can be anywhere that they want to be, coming in straight into the base and getting a lot of damage dealt over here. But now we also see pressure coming in. Roaches and Zerglings and Banelings now coming in, so those Roaches are going to simply just put in the pressure. But as those Mutalis are finishing off more and more, oh, Thor's now coming in, and Thor's getting so many rounds of javelin missiles into the back of those Mutalis. And I believe the Roaches were able to finish off that pressure. Another hatchery being built now, as Czech is currently sitting at tier 2. And oh, siege tanks are going to take a lot of splash damage once more from those glaive worms, and now Marines are just standing nearby. So what is going to be happening is the key question here. There are a lot of siege tanks. Zerglings now continuing to run. The Mutalis, many of them are low on hit points, nothing that a couple of transfusions cannot solve. And yeah, some of those queens do have enough energy for that, but the Marines and the production of mass Marine and mass siege tank, very, very difficult to deal with, as Strelok now moves out with these stores. More Marines coming in as well, and those Overlords are just slowly falling one at a time. Czech has not found a time to try to transfer, and now in comes the move here. We are going to get some Zerglings and Banelings trying to come into this position. The Marines are not engaging. The Banelings were already melted away. No, the Banelings attacking onto the high ground. So instead of melting this group of Marines down over here, that was a mistake, I believe. I believe if he had actually tried to attack this group of Marines, he would have been able to completely destroy this, let the Zerglings finish off the Thor, and then just attacked with mass Mutalis, which would have been very, very effective. Army-wise, 5100 versus 2750, but those banelings do deal a significant amount of damage. Marines not trying to run away. The banelings may be able to splash. Oh, just off of creep. Doesn't want to try to catch up to them. The banelings are only slightly faster, or 3.5, I believe, or 3.75 movement speed compared to 3.25. So not that much faster than those Marines. Those Marines just desperately running away as those banelings tried to find their target and was unable to do so. A drop now coming in over here, but the swarm of Marines coming in, now finishing it off, and a Queen with natural 2 armor able to save themselves from the Gauss rifles of those Marines. Now, Czech needs to figure out what he needs to do. He needs to gather momentum. Otherwise, he's not going to be able to lay down enough pressure. And it's really hard to gather momentum as those Marines are continuing to just eat away at your army. What the Zerg wants to do is the Zerg wants to get a large enough army that he can easily swarm his target. But with such a large army, 6,000 versus a 4,000 army, it is going to be a very difficult time to swarm, especially as there are so many Marines and just units being positioned all across the map. mouz Strelok being a very, very slow aggression Terran player, allowing him to just slowly peck away at Czech's army. And perhaps he just doesn't want to make a mistake against the famous Czech. There are a lot of banelings now over here, level 2 carapace upgrades, and now level 3 infantry upgrades. That's going to be very difficult for Czech to try to get around now, as those Marines are going to be dealing 9 damage in attack, pushing in siege tanks once again in the ready. As the Marines are starting to blast away, banelings are going to start splashing at themselves and pre-detonating at the hands of those siege tanks. You can see how much damage is being dealt, and more siege tanks are in the ready. So just a group of Marines dancing back and forth. This layer looks like it will get taken down. Medevacs are, this banelings are just getting splashed around Marines, and now this layer will get taken down in just a moment. And now Zerglings and Mutalisks trying to swarm in. The banelings trying to find their target, unable to really see anything at all, as those siege tanks with that superior range of 13 able to melt away this army. And Strelok just being very, very cold and calculating at this stage. Income wise, still about even, but if you take a look at the losses tell a different story. A 3,000 difference in losses of resources. Siege tanks now blasting away. Marines desperately trying to run away. Looks like those Marines are going to turn around just in time, deal some more damage, as those Zerglings are trying to melt away at more of this army as well. Just so many siege tanks in support. What is that? 9 siege tanks able to detonate and destroy those Zerglings as those Marines are running away. So very nice, well-coordinated attacks. This expansion has now been set up as well, as the main mineral base has now nearly been mined out. The scanner sweeps being used as mobile detection, allowing him to just remove all of those creep tumors, denying movement speed onto those Zerglings. Siege tanks just slowly continue to push. So many Marines and more Marines just continuing to offer support. Siege tanks need to siege up. They will be sieging up in just a second. There you go. And all those units are in retreat once more. And Czech, things not looking good for him. The Spore Crawler, the main base, all these buildings are going to start to slowly bleed. The larva will pop very easily as the Marines are just dancing back and forth in between these two locations here. Zerglings are ready to try to push out once more, try to swarm their target, but a Thor surrounded by Marines. That is a very, very nice tactic in order to fight back against those Zerglings, as Zerglings want to swarm the Thor. The Marines offer a high amount of DPS against smaller hit point targets, while the Thor can remotely, in a safe distance, try to shoot down those Banelings. Banelings now just trying to flood in, but so many siege tanks. Over a dozen siege tanks, and even if the Mutalisks are able to survive, there are going to be a couple Marines now able to clean up still many of these siege tanks. Some of those siege tanks were very low on hit points. Oh, now running back over here, so this is going to be a pretty easy and free target to try to deal some more damage towards these siege tanks here. So now taking down 1, perhaps 3 or even 4 siege tanks, as that Spore Crawler now going to get taken down. This siege tank going to get taken down. These two should get taken down as well. So yeah, even more siege tanks continuing to fall. So Strelok losing many of his siege tanks, but still getting a decent sized army. His army now down to 3,450, as the Roaches and Banelings are hiding. The siege tanks are continuing to reinforce once again. I think if more damage was dealt across those siege tanks, the Banelings would be able to melt across this army. Now, it doesn't look like the Banelings are going to be able to find their target all too easily. Oh, able to take down a couple of those Marines there. The Mutalisks now trying to finish off the rest of these siege tanks here. The Marines once again coming back in, chasing after those Mutalisks, and now 2950 versus 1400. So Strelok now needs to retreat with those units, but this war of attrition Czech is doing a very good job fighting back with less resources, but Strelok has this other expansion here, and he also has the gold mineral expansion. These Mutalisks need to find their target, need to get some damage. This gold mineral location is nearly mined out, as this expansion is going to be set up in just a second if it wasn't for a dead SCV. So down it goes. A group of Marine siege tanks, very low hit point siege tanks as well, and just continue to make their way out. This command center will get cancelled, but there's not enough units in order to fight back this main army here. The spawning pool has already bled. The Baneling's Nest is about to go as well. Zerg, siege tanks now trying to push in along with Marine support. A lot of Marines just offering plenty of support. Baneling's trying to melt away the siege tanks. The siege tanks are down, and only two are left now, but the Marines are now the main problem as those Mutalisks now coming in. The Mutalisks getting a lot of damage. The Marines are upgraded 3-3 against 0-0 Mutalisks. And there's the GG. So Czech losing to mouz Strelok here on Metalopolis. I hope you guys enjoyed the game. mouz Strelok just being a very, very cold and calculating player. Didn't want to overextend himself and was able to deal a lot of damage and take the victory. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.